A trip to the Alton Towers resort is always going to be a great day out, but some guests are already making a few mistakes in 2024 that will have slowed their day down or caused a hindrance which will have affected their day at the park. So let's make sure the same thing doesn't happen to you. Today I'm going to be revealing 8 of these mistakes so that when you visit the park, you'll make the most out of your day. But before we get on into it, if you enjoy watching this video or if it helps you out, then please hit that like button to let me know, or maybe drop a comment too. And if you haven't already, then please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing, because we make plenty of theme park and adventure videos here which you don't want to miss. I released a video previously on this channel with more Alton Towers mistakes and they really helped you guys out, so stay tuned because I have plenty more tips to share with you. So let's get straight on into it. Number 1, arriving at the park at the advertised opening time. Now, compared to other parks around the world, Alton Towers, it doesn't have the best operating hours. This year they have extended the operating hours slightly. In previous years the park used to close at 4 PM most days, which was way too early. However, in 2024, expect the park to close at either 5 PM on weekdays, 6 PM at weekends and during busy periods like in the summer, and sometimes during events even as late as 9 PM. So you can experience the park's roller coasters in the dark. It's best to check the website before you visit so you know if you're visiting on a day with those longer operating hours. However, one mistake that people make is arriving at the advertised opening time of 10 AM and not arriving earlier. When the park advertises the opening time of 10 AM, this means the rides and roller coasters and not the park itself. They allow the guests through the gates relatively earlier, meaning you can head towards the popular rides and roller coasters and join the queues before they even open. This means that you can be one of the first guests to ride it that day. And if it's a popular ride, which tends to have a large queue, you can get that coaster out the way early and avoid having to join big queues later on in the day. Not only this, but most other guests, they also think that the gates open at 10 AM. This means that the traffic outside the resort is going to build up more around this time, but if you arrive early, it means you're going to skip all this traffic and it'll mean you get on those rides quicker. Number 2, not taking advantage of the app. Now, for the 2024 season, Alton Towers reintroduced physical paper maps again, but that doesn't mean that the official Alton Towers app is no longer needed. That's because on the app, not only will you find a detailed map showing where all the rides, restaurants and facilities are, but it also has features to plan your day at the park. If you head to the My Visit section, it'll allow you to add your tickets, add your on-ride photos, add hotel bookings, and it also has a great feature that picks out the rides that they think you will enjoy the most, so that you can add them to your to-do list. This is perfect if you're visiting the park for the first time. And as well as that, you can also check the current ride queue times on the app, and if those queue times are super long, you can also purchase fast track tickets on the app too. So yeah, paper maps, they are great to have, but definitely consider still downloading the app because it will definitely come in useful. Number 3, not checking closures before you visit. With all theme parks, rides and attractions can close throughout the year for various different reasons, whether it be refurbishments, maintenance, or even closing for good. Alton Towers is no different. Some rides and roller coasters in the park can be a little unreliable, so always be prepared for a change of plans, and always check online in the days prior to your visit to see if there are any ongoing issues. Some of the attractions at Alton Towers have recently closed or become an upcharge, which you may not know about. The main one being the Alton Towers Dungeons. This is now closed as it is being turned into a brand new attraction for Scarefest. The Dungeons has always been an add-on experience, but if you are planning on checking it out during your visit, then unfortunately it's no longer open. At the time of recording this video, Hex is currently closed, but I know it will be reopening imminently after undergoing a major refurbishment. Who knows, maybe by the time this video goes out, we'll have heard an announcement. Number 4, only riding the roller coasters. Alton Towers is home to some of the UK's best roller coasters. In fact, some of the roller coasters are world class. However, it's not just the roller coasters that make this park so special. There's a bunch of amazing rides that aren't roller coasters that you can find across the park. Last year we saw the reopening of Nemesis Subterra, which is a dark ride experience. This ride takes you underground to a phalanx research facility where you can view the egg of the Nemesis creature. Now if you haven't been on Nemesis Subterra, I'm not going to ruin this for you, but it's definitely one that you need to check out. There's also the Curse at Alton Manor, which is a fantastic spooky dark ride which was also new for last year. There's the Congo River Rapids, which were recently refurbished, a fun ride to experience with your friends and family. For younger guests, there's Gangster Granny the Ride in the world of David Williams, and finally there's Hex, another spooky themed dark ride which at the time of recording this video is closed, however it will be reopening later on this season. Not only that, there's a few other attractions across the park such as sea life and some flat rides too. So if you are taking a trip to the park, then be sure to check out some of those other rides that aren't roller coasters, because some of them, they are hidden gems. If you want to find out more about the rides that aren't roller coasters at Alton Towers, then check this video out right here. I'll also leave a link in the description. Number 5, not planning your travel in advance. Now this next one, it's a big one, especially if you've never been to Alton Towers before and you don't know what to expect. Alton Towers is in Staffordshire, however the park it's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. So unless you're driving, you'll need to plan your travel options way in advance. If you're getting a train, the closest station is Uttoxeter, but even when you get off the train, it's definitely not within walking distance, so you'll need to hop in a taxi or catch a bus to the resort. Taxis are usually quite expensive, but if you catch the X41 bus from Uttoxeter station, it will only cost £10 for an adult return or £7 for an under 19 and student return. The only downside to this option is that there's only one bus per day, so that means that if you miss it, you'll have no option other than to pay for a taxi to get back to the train station. Also keep in mind that finding an Uber driver is very difficult at Alton Towers, so make sure that if you are planning on getting a taxi back to the station, to book that taxi in advance before you visit. Number 6, visiting during school holidays. Now sometimes you can't help when you visit the park because everyone has different circumstances. However, if you can, try and avoid the school holidays because the park is generally busier, which means the queues will be longer, which also means you'll struggle to get on as many rides as you'd like. However, there are still ways of being able to ride every roller coaster, even if it is super busy. For example, the tip I mentioned earlier about arriving before the advertised opening time. But there's plenty more tips on how to tackle the large crowds and still ride every coaster at the park. If you're interested in finding out how, then also check out this video here on my channel. I'll leave a link in the description below. Number 7, not taking advantage of single rider lines. One of, if not the most popular rides at Alton Towers is the Smiler. It's a world record breaking roller coaster which features 14 loops and inversions. So it's no wonder that this roller coaster usually has a long wait time no matter when you visit. If you visit on a busy day, you can expect queues over an hour, sometimes 90 minutes or even more. However, what some guests don't realise is that the Smiler has a single rider line. This means that if you're visiting on your own or if you don't mind being split up from the rest of your group, you can enter another queue line which is usually much quicker. Now I can't guarantee this because it all depends on how many guests are in the single rider line, but personally whenever I've joined the single rider line, I've usually waited a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes. There's also been times where I've skipped an 80-minute queue and just walked straight onto the coaster. So it's definitely worth at least checking the single rider line before joining the regular queue line. That's if you don't mind riding alone, of course. As I said, it all depends on how many single riders are actually in the queue. The rule that I use is that if the queue is halfway down the stairs inside the station, then maybe come back at a later time. But if the queue hasn't reached the stairs inside the station, then you should get on the ride pretty quickly. So if you don't mind braving this 14 inversion coaster on your own, then I would 100% recommend joining this queue, as you could possibly save over an hour of your day. Okay, so finally let's talk about Nemesis Reborn, the newest addition to Alton Towers. This coaster was retracked during the whole of last season, and now it's back bigger and better than ever before, with fantastic theming, a new track design, new audio, merch, the whole package. and because it was closed for a whole season, a lot of guests are making the trip to the park just to ride Nemesis Reborn. In previous years, I would have told everyone to head straight to Forbidden Valley first thing in the morning when you arrive at the park, because most guests, they either go to the Wicker Man or the Smiler first. However, with the reopening of Nemesis Reborn, this is no longer the case. Luckily, Nemesis Reborn has a very high throughput, which means it will eat up guests very quickly. This means that no matter when you decide to ride Nemesis Reborn, you shouldn't be waiting all that long. But what I have found during my visits to the park since it's been open is that the queue tends to die out as the day goes on. So when you arrive at the park, I would personally recommend starting your day in the Dark Forest and completing 13 and Rita. Then head to Nemesis Reborn a little later on in the day. By doing this, hopefully you'll avoid the long queues, meaning you'll make the most out of your day at the park. So there we have it, 8 mistakes to avoid at Alton Towers in 2024. These are just a few of many, so if you have any tips that you use personally, then drop them down in the comments below for other viewers to check out. Now these are some mistakes to avoid at Alton Towers to help make your day a little bit better. But there are some things that you should never do at Alton Towers that could possibly get you kicked out of the park or even banned. And if you want to find out what these things are, then click this video right here. Thank you all for watching.